Welcome everybody to tonight's launch of the Sustainable House Day 2024. My name is Helen Oakey and I am the CEO of Renew. We are the organisation that organises and hosts Sustainable House Day in collaboration with the community right across Australia. We have people tuned in from all over the country today, and I can see that people are still coming in, so welcome to those of you who are just joining. From a wide variety of different unceded lands. I would like to respectfully acknowledge that I am on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people as the traditional owners of the country here in beautiful Nillumbik, which is northeast of Naarm in Victoria, and pay my respects to elders past and present. I would also like to acknowledge any other First Nations people who may have joined us online this evening and recognise that you are all coming from different lands across Australia. And that white colonization and occupation of this land has always come at a cost for First Nations people. Okay, so as we normally do, I'd like to invite you to share where you are joining from in the Q&A. If you'd like to do that, that would be wonderful. And feel free to say hello. I hope you've all got a drink in hand, please, to kick off the weekend. It's Friday night, so we're very grateful to have you join us here and have your time. So after months of preparation, the first in-person Sustainable House Day event in 3 years is here. As we get ready to visit as many open homes as we can pack into our Sunday, we wanted to get together and meet some of the Renew team and the homeowners for a chat about what's in store, as well as look at some of the current issues that we're facing in the transition to climate resilient homes. Now, before I continue, a small unscripted addition from me. Of course, an event like this doesn't happen without the efforts of a massive team. Well, no, not a massive team, a small team that sits behind the scenes. And I'd like to take some time to thank the team at Renew, the staff team at Renew, who pulled this event together over the last few months and who've worked incredibly hard to make it happen. As you can imagine, we have over 160 homes that are on display, either online or in person, 100 open homes on Saturday. And that means 160 very passionate homeowners with whom our team has been engaging and building this event over the last few months. So firstly, a big thank you to our community for participating, because without you, this event would not happen. But I'd also like to take some time out to acknowledge a few of the key team members from Renew. Firstly, you're going to meet tonight Rob McLeod, who's our policy and advocacy advisor, and Anna Cumming. And I'd also like to acknowledge Nathan Scalaro's input, Rachel Goldlust, Moet Galati, and our core team, who I know have just been slogging away almost day and night, Belinda Brown, Jackie Hagan, and somebody who probably many of you have come across over the last few months in your conversations, Cara Finlay, who's put in a massive amount of effort over the last few months to make this happen. For those of you who might not be familiar, Renew is working to transform Australian homes and communities for climate and energy resilience. We're a not-for-profit, community-based organisation that has, for over 4 decades, been promoting green technology and sustainable living. I would invite you to consider becoming a member of Renew if you are not already, as it is a crucial way that you can support our work. Just a little side note that members of Renew also receive 50% off our subscriptions for our 2 wonderful publications, Renew Magazine, which focuses on technology, lifestyle and community for a sustainable future, and Sanctuary Magazine, which profiles Australians' modern green homes, which I'm sure many of you would love to have sitting on your coffee table, so that you could not only admire your own home, but also admire the homes of people right across Australia. It's Australia's premier magazine dedicated to sustainable house design. You can follow the link that should be in the Q&A bar or in the chat to our membership page to find out how to sign up. If that doesn't work, I'm sure that you can just Google renew.org.au and that'll take you through if you follow the links there. Okay, without further ado, I'd like to introduce our panel for tonight's discussion. Firstly, Dick Clark, who is the board president of Renew and the director of Envirotecture, a leading sustainable design practice. Dick is an accredited building designer with 40 years experience and many awards under his belt, focusing exclusively on ecologically sustainable and culturally appropriate buildings, as well as sustainable design in vehicles and vessels. I'd also like to welcome Anna Cumming, who's the managing editor of Sanctuary, Modern Green Homes. Anna is a writer and editor who loves being part of the mission to inspire and educate people about strategies, materials, and systems available to achieve truly sustainable and delightful homes. I'd like to welcome Rob McLeod, who is Renew's Policy and Advocacy Manager. He has worked on housing, energy, and climate issues as a caseworker, community organiser, and policy advisor. And I don't know where we'd be without his policy advice. So that's our Renew team. And then I'm also really delighted to welcome two of our homeowners who have joined us tonight. Firstly, David Bruce, who is the owner of the Lineville Hemp House, which is a hand-built country Victorian home made from hempcrete, which featured on the cover of Sanctuary 63. And joining us all the way from Copenhagen tonight, just having gotten over her jet lag, is Hannah Sutton, who's the homeowner of the Stables, which is an 80-metre squared converted home that stands as one of the last horse stables in Fremantle, previously owned by the first female jockey and trainer in Western Australia. All right, so we're going to get started. Welcome, everybody. It's lovely to see all your faces pop up onto the screen. It's a bit mystical, all of this webinaring. So during our discussion, we'll be putting viewers' questions to the panel, and you can put your questions in the Zoom Q&A window, which is at the bottom of the screen as we go, and we'll aim to get to as many of them as possible as we can before we finish up. We will have quite a bit of time in the second half of the session tonight to pitch questions to the panel, and Cara will be collating all of those as well as we. So, I'm going to open tonight with a bit of a chat about the current climate and energy situation in Australia and what households are facing and what is needed. And there is no doubt that this is a topic that does come up for conversation quite regularly in the news these days, which is somewhat reassuring. But I'm going to throw to you, Rob, if you'd just like to give us a bit of an overview about where we're at, what's going on, and probably more importantly, what you think might need to happen next.
Sure. Thanks very much, Helen, and thanks very much to everyone who's joining tonight. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm joining from the lands of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations. And I'm also so excited that we're coming up to Sustainable House Day 2024 and that it's going to be in person to be seeing this. I think that the interest that we're seeing in sustainable housing at the moment is a reflection of a growth of interest in this and a real understanding of the benefits of building our homes better and making sure that our homes are energy efficient and healthy to live in. That's been happening over many years now and is really growing to a crescendo. I think a big part of that is to do with the fact that we know that energy efficient homes and sustainable homes do save money and are a really critical response to the cost of living pressures that so many people are facing. And that's something that we're seeing so often in the conversations that we have here at Renew. But at the same time, we also know that homes are just such a critical part of the energy transition and of our response to climate change. And pretty uniquely, homes are a critical part of mitigating climate change, of reducing our emissions, and also adapting to climate change and making sure that we're protected and that we're safe in the face of growing extreme weather conditions, growing threats like heat waves, bushfires. And our homes have a really critical part to play in all of this, in keeping our emissions down, keeping us healthy, and reducing bills all at the same time. We know that homes around Australia produce the energy that we consume in our homes produces about 11% of emissions across the country of our total national emissions. But when you take into account the materials that we use, building all of the embedded emissions, it's a lot more than that. And critically, we can reduce that with a lot of different steps. For example, getting our homes off gas, powering our homes with renewables, making sure that our homes are energy efficient. And doing those things also not only can help directly reduce our emissions, they can also make the broader energy transition more effective, faster and cheaper for everyone by doing things like reducing the amount of energy that we're using at night time when it's harder to power with renewables. So there's so much that we need that we there's so much to gain by really making sustainable homes possible for everyone. Now, look, our goal needs to be to make sure that everyone in Australia can live in a home that's as sustainable and energy efficient and healthy and affordable to run as all of the beautiful homes that you're going to be seeing over the course of tonight and this weekend. We have to be really clear that there are barriers that people face to sustainable homes and to having energy efficient homes. People who are on low incomes might be least likely to be able to afford the upfront costs of home energy upgrades or retrofits, locking them in perversely to the ongoing higher energy costs that are faced as a result of that. It's a perverse situation. Similarly, renters have less control over energy efficiency retrofits and upgrades in homes, and we know face higher energy bills as a result. So we at Renew are really focusing on making sure that those barriers to sustainable living and to sustainable energy efficient and healthy homes are being reduced. There's some really critical measures as a part of that. First of all, we need to make sure that there are minimum energy standards for renters. It should not be possible in Australia to rent out a home that doesn't have insulation, that doesn't have efficient heating, that doesn't have good quality heating and cooling and draft sealing, all of these measures that can make a home comfortable and healthy and affordable to live in. We also need to make sure that we're supporting and funding, including with financial support for people who need it most, those energy upgrades. And we are really pleased that there's coming online this year. There is funding that is going to be available through for lending for these things through federal government funding, and that's really critical, including something that I know is near and dear to the hearts of people who've been involved in Sustainable House Day. And we need to see that keep growing and see more, as much as we can. We need to make sure that everyone gets information about homes that you're buying or renting. You shouldn't, when you buy a fridge, you know how many stars it has, but we don't know. That's not the case for homes. People don't have that information, and we need to make sure that energy ratings are available for everyone and make it a decision that people can make and make it valuable, because that is something that is going to drive changes in homes altogether. It's also really important, and I note that this is just a brief overview, but there's critical work to be done around home electrification and making sure that we can get homes off gas. We are seeing huge growth and interest in electrification, and including a lot of people I know tonight who've engaged with the Renew's Getting Off Gas toolkit. And we've had big wins. We've seen the Victorian government and the ACT government end new gas connections. These are really critical steps, and we need to make sure that these are things that continue on happening around the country as well. Finally, we just need to make sure that we are building homes that are resilient into the future for extreme weather like heat waves and bushfires, and taking the policy steps that are needed to get us there. So look, I'm so excited to be visiting some homes that are really showing the way over the weekend and to hear from everyone tonight, and looking forward to the conversation tonight. So thanks so much.
Great, thanks for that overview, Rob. There's quite some challenges there, but it's been really heartening to see that there's been quite some progress over the last few years, and particularly in people's, at least people's recognition and understanding of some of the challenges towards having energy and climate resilient homes, if not that we've actually solved those challenges yet, I gather. So there's still some work to do. Much of Renew's work is about showcasing, and Sustainable House Day is a case in point, what people are doing in their everyday lives as they seek to reflect their values in where and how they live. And I think that's really in this year's Sustainable House Day offerings, is that there are some beautiful new build homes that are using all of the new materials, new technologies, good design, good orientation. And there are also homes that people have lived in for many years that they've gradually improved the sustainability of as they've lived there over time. So I'm just going to throw to you, Dick, first. Why do you think that has been an important part in the 40 years of Renew's history to do that work?
Yeah, thanks, Helen. It's interesting. I mean, Renew has always had I guess you could call it a grassroots focus. So this is focus on people at the level they live and work and build or renovate or whatever at. Yes, we obviously also have a very strong voice into policy and and other things at much higher level. But we straddle that. And so it's always been really important for Renew to be able to empower people and inform them so they make the very best decisions they can. And, it's funny, I was doing a bit of a count back, and this is going to sound really weird, but I'm now into my 3rd decade of Sustainable House Day, or Solar House Day as it used to be called. And I've seen it have an effect. And it's called peer-to-peer education, if you want to get into the kind of technical description of it, of how the information is transferred. But it's really powerful because you get to talk to real people in a real building, and the power of it is that for many people, in many situations, they just have this kind of light bulb moment of, oh, I can do that, and it's really wonderful to see. I just love it.
Can you elaborate a little bit on why that peer-to-peer interaction is so important? Like, why is that so powerful for people?
I think just because we as humans, we have a natural empathy with other humans like us. So if we get told, by the government or by some other body, august and authoritative though it may be, do this, do X, Y, and Z, and you will have a better life. You're kind of going, yeah, righto, whatever. But when you actually you see people who are living it, who've built it, who are enjoying it, for whom it is working, and you see them interacting with their building or their bit of technology or whatever it is, and they tell you the story of the comfort in the extremes, or the fact that they haven't had an energy bill for X period of time, or the fact that they get beautiful hot water with no extra cost, or whatever it may be. It's just very, very powerful. Because of that empathetic kind of connection we have with other people, like us.
I can imagine that part of, knowing that you're getting that information from a trusted source is a really big part of that process, and that Renew's actually got quite a, really strong reputation for being a trusted source of advice and to be independent advice as well. Is that something that you've seen that people really respond positively to?
Yes, indeed. So, and I think that because of Renew's connection, that we do that kind of that straddling of the food chain, if you like, the power food chain, or the political policy food chain. So we've got our feet in the urban and suburban grass, with our members and with our supporters and our readers and others that come along, and then we've got a voice into policy and education and other things at the same time. So they know that we're connected to real experience, and they know that we have any number of experts on staff or in our membership, in our Brains Trust, that are informing. And Sustainable House Day is just, probably the epitome, I guess, of that.
Can I throw to you, Anna, now? What are some of your most fond memories of previous Sustainable House Days?
Oh, thanks, Helen. Yeah, I've been involved with Renew and the Alternative Technology Association, as it used to be called, since, I've been working here since 2010, so it's quite a long time now. I was actually thinking back just then and realised that the first Sustainable House Days that I went to were actually before that, before I started working here. I remember riding my bike around the suburbs of Melbourne with my boyfriend at the time, visiting various houses on a past Sustainable House Day, little thinking that I was going to be working for the organisation that managed it in the future. There's obviously been a lot of evolution since I started at the organisation. It used to be Solar House Day a long time ago. It was called Sustainable House Day by the time I started at Renew. However, we weren't the main. We helped organise it. We weren't the main organiser of it. We took it over exclusively in around about 2016, 2017. And since then, it's really gone from strength to strength. And I think actually, sort of strangely, the COVID years have been great for the event. Not great at the time. It was pretty stressful at the time, but the result has been terrific, because it really gave us a shove to need to take the event online for a couple of years, which was something that it just meant that the reach of the event was much greater. It meant that people could tour in a virtual way houses that they weren't anywhere near geographically, which is really, really valuable and important. It meant that it was much easier access to the information that was being presented. And now to this year, super exciting. We're back to face-to-face, in-person open houses, which is what the event used to be exclusively. And we're retaining the online component as well. The videos, the online pre-recorded tour videos of all the houses, plus the extension sessions that are accessible to anyone wherever you are. So I think we're really, I'm super excited about this year's Sustainable House Day program because we can make it a hybrid event. And I think that's really where we need to be.
It certainly makes it a lot more accessible for people right across the country. And some of our houses are in some more of the remote areas in Australia as well. So a bit harder for people to get to. I'd like to see you ride your bike to some of those places, Anne.
I know, right?
So what are some of the sort of standout houses that you have seen in the past or that you've seen over the years? I mean, I get the sense there's a great sense of commitment from people, and some people show their houses quite frequently. Is there a house that sort of comes to mind from years gone by that you really remember?
The one that springs to mind is the first one that I volunteered at, or didn't volunteer at, worked at as a staff member on Sustainable House Day in my first year of working for the organisation, which was a house in Melbourne design. It was a 9-star, I believe, house built back in 2009 or thereabouts by Positive Footprints. And the owner of that house, one of the owners of that house, is Elizabeth Wheeler, who is now a building designer herself. And it's still a terrific example of really well thought out, small footprint, high performing design. I loved visiting it back in the day. I've been back more than once since then, and it's still performing really, really well. So I guess what I love, that's one example, right? But what I love about being editor of Sanctuary now is when I speak to people who have built houses that I'm planning to write an article about for the magazine, and they tell me, oh, the inspiration for this whole project was attending Sustainable House Day, sometimes in multiple years in a row, to get inspiration and so on. And there's this sense that they want to be part of Sanctuary and part of Sustainable House Day often as well, themselves in their finished project, because they want to pay back that love, I guess, that love and that information, that sharing, that peer-to-peer sharing that Dick was talking about, that they received at the other end of their journey, at the beginning of their journey. And I love that. It's so great. Whenever I hear that, I'm like, fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds really good. I'm just going to quickly just go back to Dick for a second and just check in, Dick. Like, do you have any favourite memories of Sustainable House Day that you'd like to share before we sort of move on? Is there a particular place that jumps out at you, or a successful or a less successful day, perhaps?
Less successful day. No, I'm not going to worry about trying to rate them in that sense, but there were a couple of occasions when we had people. I used to showcase my own house because back in the 90s we'd done a lot with it, and it was kind of leading edge for an old, then 50-year-old cottage, and we kind of pushed those things for a while, and we've since stopped showcasing it because it's well off the pace now, which is kind of ironic. There are far more powerful examples out there, and but yeah, there were a few occasions where we just had longer conversations with people who you could tell they were getting it. The light bulbs had gone on, and they're going, yeah, and then they just start asking more probing questions. And I mean, like, I can think of a few. I can actually picture their faces, which is lovely.
Okay, so we're now going to throw to Anna, and Anna's going to take this opportunity to give us a little bit of a rundown of her favourite houses that are on show this year. So Anna, over to you, and I'm really looking forward to this, but I have seen some of these go past me over the last few weeks, some of them more than others, but there's been a lot to get your head around, and I know that you've had a really good look at what's on the menu this year. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting you to run us through it a little bit.
Yeah, look, it wouldn't be a good launch of Sustainable House Day without some beautiful imagery. We tried to pick projects for this quick run through that were representative, I guess, covering off a few of the different categories: new builds and renovations and retrofits, rural versus city, small versus slightly larger, you know, architect design versus owner built and more modest budget and so forth. So yeah, let's dive in. This first one that we're looking at on the title page, this is the lookout on Pirates Bay. It's in Tasmania, on the Tasman Peninsula, actually. It navigates challenges such as steep terrain and some pretty serious vegetation constraints while maximising the really beautiful views, as you can see. So yeah, bushfire safety was a big thing for this design, and biodiversity concerns as well. And the finished design integrates really beautifully with the natural landscape. I would absolutely love to visit this house. If I was anywhere near it, I would. It's open in person, and there's another one nearby, the Apex House, which is also open. So anyone in Tasmania who can get there, those two would make a perfect day trip on Sunday. The next one, thanks, Dave. Thank you. This is Hannah's house. This is actually featuring in the next issue of Sanctuary that's going to be coming out at the end of May. This is just the most inspiring project. I wish I had added onto this slide a picture of the stables before the Hannah and Grant did their renovation. It's quite stunning. It's a very small footprint building. They did a lot of the work themselves, along with a trusted builder friend, and they managed to get this very dilapidated, falling down stables building up to 9-point-something stars and very, very high air tightness for a really, really modest budget. It's 80 square meters. It's 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, little kitchen, the living area that you can see there, and it's just gorgeous. It's just such a lovely story. I recommend you get along to it if you can. If not, watch the video online and read Sanctuary for some more information when it comes out. The next one is Rosedale Beach House. This did feature in Sanctuary a while ago. This is not a new house, but it does have the distinction of being designed to BEL FZ, which is the highest bushfire rating, flame zone, and actually surviving a bushfire, surviving the Black Summer bushfires, which took out most of the houses in its street, and it survived, which is really impressive. And it's also a very compact 88 square metre home set in the bush, as you can see. It's a really great example of good, simple and affordable design. This one's not actually open in person for Sustainable House Day, but I do recommend that you have a watch of the video because there's a lot to learn. It's also accessible with step-free access, everything on one level, which is an important design consideration these days too. The next one is the Rohan off-grid Strawbale home. I totally love all the use of reclaimed materials for this home. You can see the paving there with reclaimed bricks, and there's a lot of timber work made with reclaimed timber as well. Off-grid, rustic, reclaimed timber beams from the old Whyalla jetty apparently, and timber panels in the kitchen from a local shearing shed. I've been in love with Strawbale building for a long time. I love the softness of the walls, and this is a great example. This is open on Sunday, so you can go along and have a look if you're in the area. It's in South Australia. Excuse me. The next one is in the Dandenong Ranges in Victoria on a steeply sloping block in a BEL 29 bushfire zone. So definitely need to take into account bushfire resilient design for this one. This was a renovation, and they set out to prove that anyone can renovate on a budget and achieve a great result. It's a 1940s cottage, and the finished product is far, far higher performing than the original 1940s cottage, I can assure you. The homeowners say that they have saved around $2,000 a year on their bills after the renovation. Unfortunately, this one is sold out, but if you want to get on the waiting list, then go for it. And as always, there is more information on the Sustainable House Day website. The next one is a very swanky looking renovation. This one is in Melbourne's Blackburn North. They also tackled a leaky, cold 1950s weatherboard home and renovated it to the Enefit standard, which is the passive house standard for the retrofit of existing buildings. It's ever so slightly less rigorous than passive house. That's the passive house standard for new builds, but not much. They still have to get very good air tightness and very high performance. And so this house would doubtless be extremely comfortable to live in. I would love to visit this one. It is open on Sunday and there are places available, I believe. So if you're in the vicinity of Blackburn North, get along and have a look. The next one is one of Envirotecture's projects. Hi, Dick. This is a renovation. It embraces its original design while prioritising sustainable high performance, minimising waste, of course, by preserving the original structure, which is one of the best things you can do if your house isn't completely falling down. Maintaining what you've got and upgrading it is a more sustainable approach than building new, pushing it over and building new. And it used certified passive house windows and comprehensive insulation to ensure energy efficiency. That's in New South Wales and it is open this weekend. The next one featured in Sanctuary a little while back. It's settling into its site really nicely now. It's an extension, a double-storey extension, as you can see, to a house in Brisbane. The siting of it, it's on the southeast corner of the existing house to make the most of the northern aspect to the back garden. And also they designed it to carefully minimise blocking of views and daylight to the main house, the original house. And they also sized each of the spaces to build very carefully to build the least structure necessary for what they were aiming to achieve, which is another key point of sustainability. Build the least you can comfortably get away with. Build smaller, build less, because it uses less materials and it also requires less active heating and cooling and less cleaning and et cetera, when it's finished. Also, because being Queensland in its subtropical climate, the orientation, shading and openings were designed to maximise passive heating in winter and passive cooling in summer. And the materials were chosen for their robustness and sustainability. This one is not open on Sunday, but please do jump on the website and view their video tour and the rest of the information. The next one, thank you, Dave, is a lovely small family home, just 120 square metres, with attention paid to flexibility of spaces with multi-purpose rooms and so forth, in Perth, in inner Perth, on a subdivided site. And the main point of this design was to seek to harmonise with the nature around it. Its main feature is its connection with the natural surrounds, and also its ability to perform. So cross ventilation and stack ventilation was very carefully considered, and passive solar performance as well, so that it can perform really well and be comfortable with minimal active heating and cooling, even in Perth's fairly extreme summers. This one is open on Sunday, but sold out currently. So again, jump on the waiting list if you're in the area and if you're interested in that home. The next one is an extension to a small Adelaide home, inner Adelaide home in the west of Adelaide. It's a mindful extension that focused on relocating the key living areas of the house deeper into the property, basically leaving the front half of the layout of the front half, the existing house alone, and adding onto the back in a way that provides a really high performing passive solar new kitchen and living area. It uses thermal mass for winter comfort and summer comfort as well, ensuring a lower environmental footprint. And it also has high clerestory windows facing north to bring sunlight deep into that new living space that you can see there. It also incorporates a partly roofed deck that just connects the entire new living space better with the backyard. That was one of the biggest bugbears that the homeowners had with the existing house, was its connection with the backyard, or lack thereof. That's a really lovely one. We have that one in the current issue of Sanctuary, actually, if you want to read a little bit more about that one. It's not open this Sunday, but yes, there's more information on the Sustainable House Day website and in Sanctuary 66, which is the current issue available in newsagents at the moment. The next one is in the Blue Mountains. This one is probably going to be open on Sunday. However, there have been landslides in the area, and we're waiting to see whether the roads are going to be open and safe to pass. So please keep an eye on that. If you would like to, if you've got tickets, it is sold out as well. We will, of course, be letting everybody know, everyone who has tickets know whether it's a yay or a nay, but hopefully we'll be able to get people there to see it. It's a really small, compact 2-pavilion home by architect Simon Anderson. It's his own family getaway. And I absolutely love this house. It's Bell Flame Zone rated as well. As you can see, he got creative with shutters that double as verandas, so fire resistance and shading as well. I think the regulations have changed since he built this, and so you can't do exactly this anymore, but it's still a really fantastic idea. It's, of course, designed for terrific passive solar performance as well. It's all electric, it's off-grid, it's small footprint, it's only 95 square meters. It's really cute. I would love to go see it myself. If you've got a ticket and you can get up the road, then please enjoy. The next one that we have on our slides here, how good is this living room? I just want to be there and have a cup of tea. This is over in Western Australia again. It's Tim and Marie's Strawbale House. It's a new build in the Witchcliff Eco Village, which is producing so many terrific, inspiring, sustainable homes, with a lot of them built with various natural materials. This one's strawbale, and as you can see, a lot of timber. It's 150 square meters. It's off grid, and it was owner built. Oh no, sorry, wrong one. Not owner built. I'm getting ahead of myself. The homeowners say that it feels like a warm hug, but it's still easy to breeze in and out of. So how lovely does that sound? That house is going to be open as part of the Witchcliff Community Partner event on Sunday. Now, the next house is the one that was owner built. This is David's house, Lineville Hemp House. It did feature on the cover of Sanctuary 63, which was our Hempcrete special issue. It's in Lineville in central Victoria. It's a very small footprint. It's 120 square meters all up, including the mezzanine bedroom and study. And it's just a beautiful little house. I actually have been lucky enough to be able to visit this one in person on a windy day, and it was so calm and peaceful and quiet inside with the doors and windows shut. It was really lovely. Hempcrete and lots of reclaimed timber, mostly crafted by David himself. Love this one. If it's sold out, as David was saying before, if you've got a ticket, please enjoy. If not, have a look on the website for the video and more information on that one. Just a couple more to run you through today. The next one is the Mary Home in Victoria. This is all electric. It's a 3-volume design, coming in just under 200 square meters in total. It's a new build, well, not that new, so a couple of years old now, but new build as opposed to a retrofit. it's a contemporary design that optimizes light and views, but also respects the heritage overlays of its site, which is a tricky thing sometimes in Melbourne or anywhere. It makes use of rammed earth and timber construction, along with rainwater harvesting and solar PV. And its design is focused around adaptable zones that make sure the home can accommodate the changing needs of the family who live there as they grow up, I guess. It's sold out as well, I'm afraid. We seem to have picked all of the most popular houses to showcase tonight, which is a good thing. I guess it'd be great to be able to get more people through these homes to see them, but it's great that there's been such demand and such enthusiasm for these projects. The next one is also in the current issue of Sanctuary. This is a really lovely little house. It's a story of continual improvement. It was built in 2012, and it's been upgraded and changed and to adapt to the different needs of the woman who built it and her partner, who moved in partway through those 12 years of its life. It's a small house. It's 77 square meters. It's designed for passive solar, high passive solar performance. It's also designed around the large productive garden that's right outside the door, as you can see there. It was built on a very modest budget with recycled, reused and sustainable building materials. It's all electric and always has been. It's got an electric vehicle charging port in the garage. It's a really great example of a modest, unassuming, but well thought out and very responsible home design. It's not open this weekend, I'm afraid, but please do read more about it on the website. And I think that's it. You just want to go to the next. Yep. So we just wanted to put a slide in here to show, just give a little snapshot of all the houses that we haven't specifically talked about, not all of them, some of the houses that we haven't specifically talked about tonight. There's so many fantastic projects, homes that are open today, open on Sunday, that we haven't been able to talk about tonight, but I just want to express my thanks and the team's thanks to the homeowners. This actually doesn't happen without the homeowners. Obviously, they're our inspiration and they're what makes this event tick. We've been overwhelmed with the enthusiasm and interest in participating in Sustainable House Day from owners of sustainable homes and designers of sustainable homes and builders of sustainable homes this year. And it's just terrific to see. And we really are grateful to you all for embracing our new or return to in-person open homes. Thanks, everybody. Oh, and just one last thing. I often say that my absolute favourite thing about being the editor of Sanctuary is the opportunity to visit fantastic homes and to interview their owners and their designers and to experience the spaces. And sometimes when I get very lucky, even to stay the night in these sustainable homes, I absolutely love it. It's the best part of my job. Sustainable House Day is when the rest of you get to do likewise. So please take advantage of it and get along to at least one home near you if you possibly can.
Thanks, Anna. So there's certainly a smorgasbord of homes there to choose from. That was from right across the country. So obviously not everyone could get to all of those, but the videos that people have uploaded are fabulous, and people have made their own videos in many cases. Sometimes the videos are more professional and sometimes they're done by the homeowners, but they're all incredibly informative. And a good substitute, if you can't get there in person, is to go and find those beautiful houses and upgrades and things that you like the look of, and just be shown around the home by the owner. Okay, it's time to bring in our homeowners, David and Hannah, who are two of the owners of two of the houses that Anna did actually talk about a little bit. So rather than show those houses again, I'll just remind you that Hannah's is the stables in Western Australia in Fremantle. and David's is the Lionville Hemp House, which is in Victoria. Hannah, I might just go to you first. Can you tell me what motivated you to work so hard to make sustainability a core feature of your property?
Sure. So, I mean, seeing all the houses that were just presented then, it's just a perfect example of why we work so hard to do what we do. I mean, the outcomes and the outputs are just beautiful. Not only are they often really aesthetically pleasing, they're really comfortable to live in. I attended a lot of sustainable house days as well many years ago, and I also had subscriptions to Renew and Sanctuary. So they were really big sort of inspirations that made me want to do it one day myself. I also work in sustainability, so I wanted to sort of be my own client and put myself in the other shoes and see how difficult I could be as a client, and work to see what the outcome could be.
So what are some of the key things that you've done to your property that make it a comfortable place to live?
So as you saw, well, I guess the picture that you saw, and to Anna's point, it would be nice to show what it was before. It used to be old horse stables that were sort of these cinder blocks, quite unrecognizable from what it is now. And so what we did was we made it a reverse brick veneer. So we wrapped the outside with weatherboard, made it really airtight, and added some really, really great insulation. We tried to focus on reusing materials as well. So we didn't have any skip bins on site, and we wanted to reuse any of the rubble that needed to be disposed of in the gabion walls and the landscaping features. And then we also used the existing concrete slab as paving around the side of the house as well. It's an all-electric house. We designed it for accessibility. We had 30% supplementary cement in the pavement as well. So we managed to reduce the concrete footprint that was laid in the house as well. And also reclaimed a lot of the timber and sourced all of our double glazed windows secondhand from Gumtree.
That's quite an impressive level of commitment for Gumtree there. You had to be quite patient to wait for the right thing to come up.
There was a lot of stockpiling that was happening for sure.
David, what motivated you to do what you did? What was at the core of that thinking?
Sarah and I, my partner Sarah and I are always looking for ways to be sustainable. We all are. Sarah's always saying to me, can we catch the train or some public transport instead of driving, and can we buy without packaging? And then when it came to building our house, we just transferred that to the build. How can we build a house that is not going to have an impact on the environment, not going to have an impact on our wallet, and is going to be something that is really healthy to live in? And that's when we came across hempcrete, which, by the way, doesn't have any concrete in it. It's a bit of an unfortunate name. It's hemp and lime, but it's been a really good choice based on the fact that we're just generally trying to be a bit more sustainable. And the other thing is that we wanted to disrupt the standard in the building industry where things are a little bit wasteful at times. And so we did the same thing as you, Hannah. We didn't have a skip bin. We had a little bit of rubbish, but we really tried to minimise it as much as possible.
It's actually something that's been quite inspiring looking at the house profiles, is about how many people tried to actually reuse materials that were off site from previous properties or houses that were being dismantled. I was really inspired to see some of those around Victoria. It was great as well. David, what are the key things that you wanted in that property when you went to do that work? What are some of the key features, and how does it operate?
Well, being the big thing, I said there's a number of things, but the big thing really is the hempcrete. It's a very natural product, as being a plant material and lime mixed together. It doesn't have any concrete in it. It doesn't have anything fancy. It's very simple, but it's also very healthy and sustainable. So when in 100 years' time, when I'm no longer here and someone wants to build something else here or use the land for something else, you can simply knock the house over and the hemp and the lime will be put back into the soil. So that was the big thing. But we built a small house. It has a 70 square metre footprint on the ground with a mezzanine. So we really minimised the amount. We used a concrete slab for thermal mass, but that really wanted to make sure we were minimising the cost, but also the impact. And so our footprint is 1/3 of the size of a standard Australian house, which is quite small. So we've got reclaimed timber, we've got a kitchen bench top that's used recycled glass bottles, and we've got a septic system that keeps all of our waste on site, which we reuse for our growing trees. So lots of aspects that are sustainable about our place.
So I have to ask, and both of you feel free to answer, jump in here, but did you find that the things that you wanted to do were costing more, or did you find it was just a matter of taking a bit more time to get the things that you wanted? Or, you know, how does that sort of play out in terms, you know, a lot of people will turn around and say, well, it's just too expensive to do that. It's too difficult. It's too complicated. How did that play out for both of you? Feel free to whoever wants to go first.
I might go first if it's okay, Hannah. There were certainly some complications, and actually getting our hands on hemp and lime that was suitable for this project was very difficult. It's much easier in Australia now, but unfortunately we had to buy our product from overseas. And getting it into Australia was difficult. It got stuck on a ship during COVID, which delayed things. But and also one of the big challenges for us with the hempcrete was no one understood what it was and how to build it, except for the supplier, who was fantastic. So when we went to the building surveyor, they'd never heard of it. So we had to flood them with lots of information, and they ended up taking quite a while to educate themselves about what it was. And so that delayed the project somewhat, but in the end, they were very happy. So that were some of our challenges.
I think also just to add, a lot of the things that we use, and I think it's the same for your house as well, David, you can't buy them off a shelf. So a lot of the reclaimed timber and the double glazed windows and a lot of the features that we had that kind of made, or that we were able to reuse in the actual build were from the original stables building as well. So it had to be sort of a staged approach. But I think it not only it creates a great story, it creates beautiful aesthetic, and also when you're in the house, it makes it feel more like a home because you remember all those hours that you spent working on that timber. Or for us, one of the nicest features are the stable doors that we reclaimed. We stripped back the layers of paint that they painted over the years. I think we counted 9, and just kind of put a clear varnish on the top, and they really bring some nice color and some nice feature into the build as well.
It's always beautiful when you live in something that's a bit of a labour of love as well, and you can see all the effort that you put in. So
and you can see all the bits that didn't quite work out exactly as you planned.
Probably your worst critic, David.
No, that's all right. No one else can see them, so that's fine.
Exactly, yeah.
But that's what happens when you build a house yourself. You notice all these things.
Just quickly, just to wrap up, what is it that you love most about living in your homes? Hannah, do you want to kick off?
For me, it's not only living in the home. I mean, I say that as I live in Copenhagen now, but it was sort of the journey to get there. So we had a really amazing builder, Joel from Praxis, and it really was just such a nice journey to work with him. We had a great relationship. He really pushed the bar and made us achieve a 9.2 star rating, even though we weren't setting out for that. And we got a really good sort of passive house score, not quite at the passive house level, but still really good performance. So it's very comfortable to live in it, but it's also nice to kind of achieve that goal at the end and then have something that you can showcase for others, which we'll be doing. Well, my partner will be doing on Sunday.
And for me, Helen, the house is incredibly comfortable and to live in. It was really an unknown product when we signed up and when we paid the money to buy the hempcrete. And we didn't actually know for about 6 months. We built during summer, and we didn't know for sure until we got to winter. And I still remember one evening when it was 1 degree outside at about 7 o'clock at night, and it was 20 degrees inside. We have a thermometer here. And Sarah turned around and said to me, "Do you think we should light the fire?" We had no heating on at all. This was in the middle of winter, and it's because the sun had come out that day for a couple of hours and warmed the house up. So it's a very comfortable house to live in, and it has exceeded our expectations for comfort and for efficiency and for cost. It's very cheap to live in, which is great.
Thank you both so much for joining us. I've got a couple of other quick questions to throw to the panel. I just wanted to flag that we've got some quite technical questions on the chat. If anyone on the panel feels like they've got the expertise to respond to those questions in the chat, that would be great. So some a little specific and some a little bit technical. So feel free to jump in if you do know the answers. That would be really helpful. So just a little bit, there was one question about federal funding, funding from the federal government, Rob. I wonder if you might be able to just unpack that just really quickly for us about what that commitment is and what people might be able to expect to see coming along.
Yeah, absolutely. So the federal government agreed to the Housing Energy Upgrades Fund at the end of 2022. And some of that money is going to be coming online, we expect, through financial lending institutions, potentially banks, potentially others, where you'll be able to access a green loan if you are retrofitting your home or building to green standards. Alongside that, there's also funding for social housing upgrades, for example, and there's great work happening across states and territories as well in terms of access to support, and really acknowledge some of the programs that are there in all of the many states. So yeah, there's various options there.
Thanks, Rob. Just a general question. I might throw this to you, Dick, just to sort of kick off with a response. But how far away are we from the small is beautiful thinking in Australia? We talked a little bit about, sustainability being also acknowledging that we want to, potentially have a smaller footprint. We know Australians have some of the biggest homes on the planet per capita. What was your experience in that when you were talking to people about building new homes, particularly?
Yeah, it's a trend that I think has peaked. Where the classic kind of bell curve of adoption can be applied to this trend, I guess, like any other trend. And there are people like David and Hannah and others that we've seen showcased tonight who are the leading edge of that with very efficient small footprint houses. And I think we are beginning to see an overall movement towards, now that may not yet be reflected in the overall averages that get reported by the Bureau of Statistics, because that includes the vast majority of houses which are built by volume builders, and the volume builders are still hell-bent on giving maximum space for minimum dollars, rather than concentrating on, more about quantity of house rather than quality of house. But I think in our experience at Envirotecture, we've certainly seen people focus on trying to rein in their square meters, and of course we encourage that very strongly.
Thanks, Dick.
Can I just jump in and say that the next issue of Sanctuary magazine is focused on small projects, and there's a strong theme on building less and clever small design. So it's definitely an important topic and one close to my heart too.
And it may be something that comes into its own as people live in smaller units as well. So, more people living in singles and couples and smaller family units as well. There is a question in the chat which Danny's put in, which I'm just going to read out, which is about loving the look of old school architecture, Federation style homes. How do you balance a sustainable home while still keeping those period features that may not meet passive sustainable requirements? Hannah, do you have any thoughts about this, given your experience of doing an older house? Is there anything you can sort of speak to there?
Yeah, I read your comment, Danny, and I really resonated with it because I think, but in all honesty, to be honest, our house is sort of modern meets old. So we do have old features. If you have a look at some of the photos, there's old things in the house and obviously the old walls, but we still preferenced having double glazed, which I think there might be some products on the market that might meet your aesthetic. And there's some brilliant examples that Anna just showed before of houses that have retrofitted to keep the same character and aesthetic. But I guess from a personal perspective, I can't really comment because we mixed old and new. But I'm sure there's some other really great examples out there.
Can
The great thing about sustainable. Yeah, go on, Dick.
No, I insist after you.
Yeah, I was going to say the great thing about sustainable homes is that they don't have to look a particular way at all. They can be mud brick, you know, what people can, you know, maybe is part of the general perception of a sustainable house, you know, be a mud brick or a rammed earth or whatever, but they can also be schmick, shiny surfaced, architect designed modern homes, or they can be Federation style. It's not really about the architectural style, right, Dick?
Myself, yes, exactly. A sustainable house can look like anything. Passive house is probably the highest standard of performance, thermal performance that we currently have, and you can make a passive house look like anything. So that's not the point. It's about fundamentally different things, you know, about solar access and correct shading and high insulation values.
There's another question here about passive house status, and I apologise for the ones that I'm not pitching. It's because some of the answers are very technical, so I'm hoping that some people can jump in and answer them in a written form. But there is a question about those that have almost achieved passive house status, how have they avoided mould and dealt with condensation management? Is anybody on the panel feeling equipped to answer that one?
Well, we've got a bit of experience with passive house, having been doing it now for about 5 years. And there are various ways of controlling mold in a building. Hempcrete is a very good way because of its natural alkalinic character with the lime and so on, and it's very, very good at wicking humidity out through the walls, because typically annual average internal humidity levels are higher than external, even though, you know, it might be dewy and cold and high humidity outside. Even so, net annual average, it's still more humid inside a house than outside. So it tends to allow that to flow out. But the other thing with passive house is because it requires you to have a wall that breathes one way or the other. It's either got to breathe from its thickness out to the outside world or from its thickness inside. And then you have a mechanical heat recovery ventilation system that by design enforces air exchange, that controls the humidity buildup, coupled with the high insulation and the value of the walls and windows and so on. And so that tends not to arise in no matter what your construction method is with passive house.
Oops, sorry, I realised I was on mute. Thank you. Sorry, I was aware that there was quite a few questions in the chat there that you're very qualified to answer, so I didn't want to throw all of them at you at the same time. So it's probably time for us to wrap up. We're a little bit over time. Just before we go to, sorry. No. Just before we go, I just wanted to quickly throw back to our homeowner panel members. Is there just one thing, what would you say to people in terms of if they're about to start out on that journey? What's your sort of takeaway from the experience that you've had, and if they're about to start on that journey going forward?
Are you talking about building or owner building or both? Maybe I could speak from an owner builder perspective. It's exactly like it is on Grand Designs on TV. It's really hard, but incredibly rewarding. So it's both the good and the bad together. You need a lot of time and a lot of, I think, resilience just to keep going, because it's an enormous thing. It takes a bit longer than baking a cake, but it's well worth it.
Thanks, David.
Just on that point, I think having a good relationship with the builder and with the different contractors that you might be working with, I think is really important. This may be the first time they've tried something, or maybe you've got some contractors who've had a bit more experience, but it's all part of the journey, as David was saying. So I think don't be so hard on yourself. Some things you'll be able to achieve, and other things may be a bit more difficult, but if you allow yourself some time, and don't try and rush to get everything done before Christmas or something like that, then it'll be a really good, enjoyable journey, and also the outcome will be something you can enjoy for years to come.
Thanks, Hannah. I'm just going to throw to Anna quickly. Anna, what's your key takeaway for how to enjoy Sustainable House Day this year?
Oh, I think I've already given it. Just get along and experience these great homes in 3 dimensions, because you know, if you possibly can, if there's one near you that that still has tickets available, get along and experience it in 3D, because it's really different to looking at it in the pages of a magazine or on a screen.
And I think for me as well, by looking at all the houses, it was also about considering to see some of the houses that people have been living for a while, and that you know, are sort of long-standing family homes that they've gradually made improvements to, because I think it's really important that we know that sustainability is something that we can all aspire to. It doesn't have to be, you know, doing a whole big new retrofit or a new house. It can be just gradual upgrades to an existing property, and that's something really important.
That's what I'm doing right now at my house.
Indeed, I saw you literally putting the insulation in on a
Literally putting insulation in today. Yep.
Great. Well, thank you so much to all of our guests tonight. It's been a real pleasure listening to you and hearing all of your experiences. Thank you to those of you who came along and to those who put questions. I'm sorry if you didn't get an answer to your question exactly, but we really appreciate you answering those. And we'd like to wish you all a wonderful Sustainable House Day on Sunday. Hope that you have a great day visiting some houses in person. And if you can't get there in person, then hopefully you can sit down perhaps with a glass of red wine in the evening and have a bit of a look online and watch some videos. So a big thank you to all of our panellists. So Dick Clark, Anna Cumming, Rob McLeod from Renew, and David Bruce and Hannah Sutton, our homeowners. Thank you so much. I would like to encourage you all to go and grab some tickets. And also just wanted to make a special mention that there are 8 online extension sessions that will be held after Sustainable House Day. So it's actually not Sustainable House Day, it's a Sustainable House Day Festival that will run over the next 4 weeks. So there'll be 2 of those sessions every week, Tuesday and Thursday evening. And they're going to run on a range of topics about all things design and sustainability. As a bit of a bonus, if you do already subscribe to Renew or Sanctuary, or you're a member of Renew, then you can get your extension session pass at a bit of a discount. And if you're not any of those things already, we would really encourage you to join up, become a member, or sign up for a subscription. And then you can get those extension sessions at a bit of a discount. And you'll also go in the draw to win a Stiebel Eltron heat pump hot water system, which, if you haven't gone all electric yet, it will be an integral part of that journey as you get rid of that gas boosted hot water system that's been stuck on your wall for a few decades. So that is a great opportunity. So that's going to be drawn, I think it's next Sunday or Monday, the 26th. Anyway, closes on the 26th. So get your applications in for the 26th to join Renew. And you can do that just by going to the Renew website. I'd like to thank again Cara Finlay, who's sitting behind one of those lovely Renew banners. She might just reveal herself and come out and say hello. She might not. I'd also like to thank the other person from behind the other banner, who is our tech support. So who might also come out. Dave, you're going to come and say hello? There's Cara. Thank you, Cara. Round of applause for Cara. She's done an amazing job pulling all of this together. So what a star. And thank you to Dave for doing our tech support for tonight. So that's been great. Thank you to all of you. Have a great weekend. And we look forward to seeing you at various places on Sunday. And we look forward to seeing you at some webinars next week. Thank you and good night.
Good night, everybody.